Good morning, my viewers, the teachers, the parents, the students, and everybody else. Before I begin my talk today, I want to send my condolences to myself, to my family, brothers and sisters, and to everybody else who knew Francis Ltomia, my bigger brother. He passed on last night. The funeral arrangements are still to be made, and you will be informed through the media on when the burial will be. But I just want to say pole to the entire Wesutsa family for losing such a kingpin of the home. And when it comes to burial arrangements, I will again make sure that everybody who knew him knows about it. He was a long-standing educationist, been a headmaster to many schools and so on. I'm sure he is well known. So that's the only thing I have. Condolences to myself and my family and all friends and relatives who knew Francis Ltomia. Passed on just last night. Okay, to come back to today's talk, I want you to get what you have been asking. How do I know that these are my numbers? How do I know that these are my lucky numbers and so on? Now, the mathematics of the universe has designed that a person is governed mainly by his birth date. The number that governs your life primarily is the date when you were born. It's not the only number, but that is the head of the numbers that govern your life. So if you are born, say on 1st of any month, your number is 1. The same number is on tens. The number 1 is on tens. This 10, we call it a compound number. But when you reduce it to a single number by adding 1 plus 0, then it goes back to 1. The same number, people born on 19th of any month are controlled by the number 1. 19 is a compound number, but you add 1 plus 9 to go to 10, which is still a compound number. And now you add 1 plus 0, you go to 1, which is now the single number that governs your life. But you still have to understand the influences of the compound number. If you are born on 19th of any month, then you will need to understand the influences of 19 and also the influences of 10. And finally, the influence of 1. So some numbers vibrate harmoniously with you, and some numbers don't vibrate harmoniously with you. But it doesn't matter. All you need is to know how to adjust. Obviously, you can never adjust the date when you were born. But you can find a leeway in the name. The name can be adjusted to vibrate, to harmonize with your date of birth. So how would you adjust a name? For example, when you have the name Mary, when you calculate the vibration of this, and of course I gave you the alphabet, but you didn't get it, still you will get it in the small book, The Universe and Man, when you get it. So the name Mary, M-A-R-Y, would vibrate, M would be 4, and A would be 1, and R would be 2, and Y would be 1. So when you add 4 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1, you're going to find that the name Mary vibrates to the number 8. And suppose the number 8 is not in harmony with your date of birth, then you can adjust the same name, Mary, to read Maria. So when you have the name Maria, it is still the same name, you're still the same person, but the vibrations here are going to change. You will find that Maria would be 4, 1, 2, 1, 1. And that would then mean that's 5, 7, 8, 9. So you see, the same name, Mary, which is Maria, have different vibrations on the cosmic keyboard. And therefore, if your birth date was not harmonious, you strengthen it by changing the vibrations of your name. And how would you know the best numbers to have? The best numbers, I have given a description of what each number stands for in the small book, The Universe and Man. You can just keep doing it yourself. So in that way, this then becomes the way you can alter. Even if you don't want Mary or Maria, you can then put it to Mariam or Miriam. You're still the same person, only you are changing the vibrations of the names. It is just like if you are a footballer and you have the ball coming this direction, if you put any small touch on it, the effect is that the ball changes direction. It's now going to go in a different direction from the previous direction it was going. And that's how the universe works. If you, for any reason, you find the vibrations of one name are not resonating harmoniously with you, you can alter them and have a harmonious life according to your name, according to your date of birth. Then the same thing applies for people who want to go into business, and obviously they have to find a business name. So if you say this is John Enterprises, and probably for some reason you calculate and find this is an 18, which is a 9, and for some reason this is not harmonious with the kind of business you want to do, then you can change this one to Johanna Enterprises. Johanna. This is still the same John, but now Johanna is going to have a different vibration from John. Let's see what this one will be. This one will be 175151. And that would be 1020. So this becomes then 20. And when you add 2 plus 0 is still 2. So the vibration then changes from 9 to 2. And then you got the description of 9 and the description of 2 are completely different in the way they vibrate on the cosmic keyboard. Now, this is pure knowledge. It has nothing to do with superstition. It's the knowledge that God used. These numbers are godly. None of us created the numbers at all. But then you find that people who are born again are telling us that that is pagan, that is superstition, that is satanic. And God says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. Why would you say it is superstitious, satanic? You yourself don't have the knowledge of it. For you to be able to know that something is good or something is bad, you must get the knowledge of both. So that you can distinguish that when it's like this, it is good, but when it's like this, it is bad. And you don't have the knowledge, and you're passing judgment on anything that it is bad, it is satanic. Let's look at some of these things that some people might want to call satanic, and they are not. Look at the day when Jesus was born, just the other day. Look at the 3 wise men from the east. They want to go and see the king of Israel that has been born. These people have absolutely no idea where, I don't know, was it Judea or where it is. But then it is written that the star will come. And so they have the knowledge that for us to get there, we must follow the star of Jesus. So they then look up into the skies and see the star, and they say, there. And so the 3 wise men from the east start following the star. And when we talk about astrology, the born again say it is satanic. Why are the 3 wise men following the star to go and get to where Jesus is? And the star leads them there. The planets in the universe are not there for decoration. They are there for a specific purpose which God created. So, astrologically, the star led the 3 wise men to Jesus. So before you know knowledge, don't rush into despising it. Of course, I know there are some con men in this universe who have conned a lot of people out of these astrological sciences. That is true. But that doesn't mean that astrological sciences are all pagan, are all satanic. They are powerful knowledge. For example, when you take a look at the sun, science already knows that it can give vitamin D to the body, which is very vital. The sun. The same sun, metaphysics knows that it provides the air elements that come into the human body to make it very lively and vibrant. Metaphysics knows that on the law of duality, there is the positive and there is the negative. And these air elements are the positive energies that come into the body, while the B elements, which are negative, are provided by the earth. So the earth is providing the B elements, while the sun is providing the A elements. As above, so below. On the law of duality, nothing manifests without its dual aspect. So it's knowledge I'm talking about. If you have knowledge, you will understand these things. You are able then to distinguish what is satanic and what is not satanic. But do not just generalize everything. Astrological sciences are so important to humanity. Back in 1969, and I think I've told this story once here, when Major Yuri Gagarin and Armstrong, those astronauts, were landing on the moon, I was doing my Form 4 at St. Peter's Mumias, and all the teachers at that time in that high school were Americans. And so they threw a big party for the whole school. And inside that party, one of them told us that the reason why you are still being called third world is because you do not know the physical and the metaphysical knowledge. You only go for the physical, the tangible that you can touch. But there is esoteric knowledge which you can't touch, but is still so important. And you people don't know that. And so we asked them, what do you mean? He said, we are going to the moon to see if there's something again esoteric that we can harness to come and use here. Back then, there were no mobile phones. Today, the science knows that there is a vibration in the universe that if well harnessed, it will communicate to anywhere in the world. And so they put a bit of that into the cell phone. Today I can call anybody on the globe at any time. So this is the teachings of the scriptures, that you must believe in the unseen. And numbers are not seen. These are just characters representing numbers. And yet they control the entire universe. Today, when you Google about the solar system, you find a lot of discoveries pertaining to numbers. The speeds of the earth around the sun, the speed of the whole solar system. All these are numbers. So important to us. So when you find that your name is not vibrating harmoniously with your activities, then you change it. And how do you change it? How do you know it's not? You know by getting to know the esoteric knowledge that I've put in the universe and man, that small book. It will give you a guideline. Then you will know that this universe is running on the knowledge of great metaphysicists. The entire quantum physics is a baby of metaphysics. And that's why I said in the holidays, I'm just going to talk about the mathematics of the universe to help our students, to create an awareness to our students that there's something out there. That the physical that you see has come from the non-physical. In simple language, everything that exists originates from thought. There's nothing that exists that is not in thought. And when you read the creation, then God thought about the animals, and he said, let there be. And the word of God is a very strong one, because we are told that in the beginning there was the Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So they vibrate on numbers. Even the word itself, when you take the word itself and numeralize it, you find it 6724, which is 19. And when we add the word, the vibration 1 plus 9 is compound 10. And when you go further and add compound 10, 1 plus 0 is 1. The first thing that existed was the word. And you think this is my own making? The ancient Chaldeans studied and gave us an alphabet on how every single letter vibrates to a particular numeral. And so the word, which they are saying in the beginning, at the very first, was the word. And the word was with God. God is the beginning. And again, God is one. And therefore, the thing that existed early must be one. The word. So these are powerful sciences that you need to know after classroom knowledge. When King Solomon asked for wisdom, he was asking for such knowledge that would guide him successfully throughout his life in the universe. And now science is just coming up to discover that everything in the universe is vibratory. And the vibrations here are measured in certain octaves, certain vibrations in numbers. And even when you look at things like the periodic tables in chemistry, today I understand they have 18 elements. And those 18 elements, we are still discovering more. There isn't anybody in the world who knows the knowledge of God. Now, each day you are discovering something. But that doesn't mean that that thing didn't exist. It only means that we didn't have the knowledge of it. So that's how we calculate our names harmoniously. And these names can be calculated when you are naming your child. They can also be calculated when you are opening up a new business. They can also be calculated when you are naming your transport vehicles and so on. One might say, what has a name to do with accidents? And I tell you, there is a lot to do with accidents, depending on the kind of names that you have. Have you ever wondered why in this country the most place prone to accidents is in Narok? I know many of us don't take note of these things. They just hear about accidents. Oh, it has happened, it has happened. But if you take the statistics, some of those fatal accidents are in the region of Narok, on that road, in that region. It doesn't mean that other roads don't have accidents, but the prevalence. So there is a certain vibration which one needs to alter, and then you alter all those problems. And they go in so many things. The names of the driver, the names of the vehicle, the dates the driver is born, the date the accident is happening, all this. In that small book, you will find periods that are prone to accidents. And so, you can take precaution. While we are saying that accidents are bad, some things are good. Let me tell you, the adjectives good or bad are not absolute. They are relative. What one is calling bad is good to somebody else. What one is calling good is bad to somebody else. So the universe doesn't use those terms. The universe uses these words we call positive and negative. And they must exist for life to go on. There must be a positive and there must be a negative. Let's look at, if you were born a millionaire and you have all the millions around you, then you will have nothing to toil about. And since you have nothing to toil about, your body will never have any exercise at all. You sit there in the couch and rot. You become garbage. So while there is the positive of you being a millionaire, there is the negative of you being garbage. So this thing, bad or good, doesn't mean much. Those are relative terms. They are not absolute terms. The universe has terms known as positive and negative. And they are all important. For things to move on, there must be the element of positive and there must be the element of negative. A good example is in the flow of electricity. These lamps cannot burn when there is no proper connection of positive and negative. And in the universe, there are so many of those on the law of duality of nature, that when you come across tall people, they are also very short people. When you come across very huge people, they are also very slim people. The duality of nature. And each has a purpose. God has a reason for putting the duality of nature. Each has a purpose. And they are all controlled by one thing, numbers. Vibrations. So those who know physics can measure some octaves, they know, especially the musicians who understand the keyboard very well, will understand the arrangement of the daily cycle which I describe in this, the universe and man. People who understand music and understand the keyboard very well will understand the daily cycle very well, which runs on 7 periods from period A to period G. And these periods starting at midnight and ending at midnight of every day. But they oscillate. The midnight of Monday is a different period from the midnight of Tuesday. And that means then there are things you can do positively on midnight of Monday, and there are things you can do and they give negative results on the same midnight of Monday. Now these things that gave negative results on midnight of Monday, you will find that they can give positive results on the midnight of Tuesday. So if you understand the periodicity of the daily cycle, then you will know that if I want to do such a thing, I would better not do it on Tuesday midnight. Rather, I would wait and do it on Wednesday midnight. That is why God says in the Ecclesiastic 3, verse 1 to 8, that there is time for everything. And you born-again Christian, if you are listening to me, go and open those books. The Ecclesiastic 3, 1 to 8. There you will find that there is time for everything. What is interesting in there is that there is time for war and there is time for peace. So if God himself says there's time for war and there's time for peace, and you are describing war as bad and peace as good, and yet the Maker himself knows why he put those dualities. There can be a war in a certain country to eliminate certain elements that would destroy the whole world. Once those elements have been destroyed, then there comes time for peace. The duality of nature. So while we are saying this is bad and this is good, the universe is saying this is positive and this is negative, and we require all of them. You cannot choose out of the 10 numbers that 0 is the best and 8 is the worst, and so on. These numbers are both what you call good, they are also both what you call bad. But the universe calls them, they are both positive and both negative, depending on the time which God says there is time for everything. A delicious meal, nyama choma, is very good only to a very, very hungry person. The same nyama choma is very, very bad to a person who has spent the whole night eating. He doesn't want it. You show him, he says, no, no, throw that one away. So in one thing, there is the duality of nature. And they are all controlled by the numbers. Duality is 2. The number 2. And it works as you give, so you get. What you plant is what you harvest all the time. So parents, I'm addressing you that take your children to school on this physical knowledge while you do something about them knowing the spiritual knowledge. And the spiritual knowledge has nothing to do with reading the Bible or the Quran. It has something to do with God's design of nature. It's called esoteric knowledge. This one we are learning is called mundane knowledge. And once you have those two, as I've told you on the duality of nature, you have the mundane and esoteric knowledge, you are complete. This is when you will know if you want to be a holy person. This is when you will become very holy, after knowing that this thing is bad and this thing is good. In quotes, But let me say, after knowing this thing is positive, this thing is negative. You will only know that this thing is hot and this one is cold by knowing how heat feels and knowing how cold feels. People who have held sodas from the fridge will tell you, this is cold. And people who have tried to remove charcoal from a charcoal stove will say, this is very hot. They have both the knowledge. The children who don't know about hot and cold just stretch their hands and hold the charcoal that is red hot, and they just burn away. So knowledge is very important, and you must learn both knowledge, bad and good, which are relative terms. The right terms are learn the positive knowledge and the negative knowledge, so that at the time when you are supposed to apply positive knowledge, you are able to apply it. And at the time when you are supposed to apply negative knowledge, you apply it. Take an example of a soldier in war. He knows he's going to kill. And the scriptures are saying, thou shalt not kill. But the killing the soldier is going to do, though negative, is what is required at that time to remove that element that is causing problems. So at that time, even if he's killing, in our terms, he is doing the right thing, although killing is completely negative. So what I'm saying is that the universe operates that in certain circumstances, what is positive can be interpreted as negative, and what is negative can be interpreted as positive. But we need both for us to exist. If the rains were negative, then that negativity will cause us to build roofs and shelters over us so that the rains does not pound us. So the process where this rain is falling on this old woman, old widow who has no husband, that's negative. The woman is always saying, the rain, I wish the rain doesn't rain tonight. Because she interprets it as negative. But the farmer who has just planted his seeds on the same day is cherishing the rain as it comes in the night. Oh, it has done a very good thing. My crops are going to be germinating. Those are good examples to show you that what is positive in some circumstances could be negative in other circumstances. And what is negative in other circumstances could be positive in other circumstances. So the question of bad or good is only relative. It depends on who is interpreting this. But the universe has its laws, the duality of nature. There is the positive and there's the negative. And these positives are measured in numbers, and these negatives are also measured in numbers. Do you think a young child who is taken to the doctor and is pricked with an injection for malaria and the medicine is pushed right in the skin will say, that is good? That child will hate you even if you are the mother. My own mother can hold me tight for this idiot to break me. That's the interpretation of the child. But the mother sees it positive. Since my child is now getting the injection, he's going to be okay. He's going to be all right. Same action, very negative to the child, extremely positive to the mother. So good or bad are relative terms. It depends on the interpreter. Otherwise, the really interpretation is positives and negatives. So, as I sum up, I want to encourage every single parent in this country to just have that small book, The Universe and Man, in his house. It will help you yourself in your own course of the day, doing this and that, following the scriptures that there is time for everything. While it will help the child who is going to school to know that my calling is such and such. I am born to become this and this, so I must study towards that direction. That small book. Don't miss it in your house. It has nothing to do with superstition. It has nothing to do with religion. It has nothing to do with magic. It has only something to do with God and his order of things. The mathematics of the universe. So we shall have our last lesson on next weekend. Thereafter, I think the schools will be open, and we shall go back to the mathematics of the classroom and train our students very, very well on how to pass exams. But every time I'll remember to remind you about that book so that you can have it in your house and direct yourself, so that you are not in the group that God says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. So that you are in the group of Solomon, who asked for wisdom. If you are wise, you will do everything in God's willing. So I want to say, I wish you a good new year, because by the time we meet again, it will be now a new year. So take care of yourselves, make sure you are safe, make sure you are clean, and enjoy your new year, and let us pray that we all come together next year. For friends, I've told you I lost my elder brother. We will tell you when we are burying. Just keep following the media, West TV, West FM, and you will be informed. And you want to say Paul to us, you are most welcome, materially, spiritually, or in whatever form. So until next weekend, it is bye-bye from Dr. Kundu. But before I do that, you want to get this small book, just call me on telephone number 0721 901 429. 0721 901 429. So until next weekend, it's bye-bye from Dr. Kundu.